It's time for Promoter 101, the podcast, hosted by Steiny.
Welcome to episode 5 of Promoter 101. I'm your host, Dan Steinberg, but you can call me Steiny.
And I'm Luke Pierce. Let's get to the news of the week. The election is over, and we appear to have a new president. In Washington, Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States.
I really don't want to get too far into election politics, Luke, but I really didn't see that one coming.
Hey, man, I'm just glad they legalized weed in California and Nevada. I mean, is there anything that we can be happy about?
I think you're going to need that weed with who our new president is. Anyway, on the upside, Live Nation reported a record earnings in Q3 of over $111 million. Well done, gentlemen.
On Wednesday, we mourn the loss of the velvet voice of Leonard Cohen, who passed the age of 82. He definitely will be missed.
Also, as we recorded this podcast, some sad news came in. Concert legend from the security world in Colorado, Chuck Grant, has passed. There will be a gathering this Tuesday night in Denver at My Brother's Bar at 6 p.m. for all friends of Chuck. Any malt whiskey will do as you raise a glass for our dear friend Chuck. Rest in peace, my friend.
There's some shakeups in the record label world. Todd Moskowitz is leaving 300 Entertainment to start a new venture at Universal. The former Warner Brothers CEO and head of Def Jam announced his new label, Cold Heat. We'll have to see what the hip-hop maven has in store.
Madison House announced this week there will be no Vertex Festival coming back in 2007 to Colorado, but there's still talk of 2018 for the return, so keep an eye peeled for that.
The Billboard Touring Conference was this week in Los Angeles at the SLS Hotel in Beverly Hills. It is the first time in concert history where it was not hosted in New York. Dan, you were there. What'd you think?
Seemed a lot smaller than I remember. The bar scene was always popping in NYC, but it was laughable in LA. It was simply underwhelming. On the upside, Luke, a lot of great feedback on the podcast from our listeners. There seems to be a buzz around the industry right now, so thanks everybody for your feedback, and keep those ideas coming.
The Bill Graham Promoter of the Year Award honors the memory of the legendary promoter who revolutionized the concert industry. And having worked with Dan for the past 5 years, I have to make a push. This absolutely has to be Dan's year. Emporium Presents has had an incredible first year. Sold out shows with Dolly Parton, Scorpions, sold out tours with Trailer Park Boys, the Tedeschi Truck Band, Home Free, Straight No Chaser. I mean, Old Crow, Gillian Welch, Dave Rawlings, Sturgill Simpson, John Prine, Chris Christopherson, Dream Theater, Leonard McKinnon. I could literally go on for days, and I'm sure Dan is somewhere in Seattle cringing at the fact that I'm doing this, but the man deserves the award. And in the middle of all that, he found a time to create this podcast. So if you've got a ballot from Polestar, I'm going to urge you to check that box for Dan Steinberg from Emporium Presents for the Bill Graham Promoter of the Year Award. Let's make it Dan's year.
Thanks, Luke. It's really an honor to be on the list with all those other great guys, and anytime you have your name associated with Bill Graham, it's pretty cool. I was pretty excited to see that, actually.
And speaking of Polestar Live, we're going to be recording our podcast live from Polestar Live for the very first time this February in Los Angeles. Dan, who do we have lined up for our first guest?
Guess we can go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We have a legendary agent who's been booking shows longer than you've been alive, Luke. From Entourage Talent, the great Wayne Forte will be joining us live.
Polestar Live is this January 31st to February 2nd at the JW Marriott in Los Angeles. Make sure you're registered. We'd love to see you out there for a live taping of Promoter 101. All right, Promoter 101 tweets from the last week. This is where we asked Dan to go into a few details of the better tweets from the last week. If you're not following Dan on Twitter already, please check him out at The Jew on Twitter. As long as you respect the quote-unquote spirit of the deal, everything should come together. Hashtag Promoter 101.
This one's pretty simple. It's not so much what's in the words on the paper. It's about what was meant when you cut the deal. Don't worry about if they forgot to put something on the piece of paper that you promised and you can get away with it. Do what's right. It's best for the relationship. It's most healthy in the long run. People need to just live up to the spirit of the deal they originally had. Forget that it wasn't in writing and you got away with something. Just live up to the deal. It'll help you in long term.
Love this one. When you book a cut down underplay and the artist shows up with 2 trucks. Hashtag Promoter 101.
Yeah, this is something we see a lot where you get a big act and they miss playing the clubs. They've been playing the big rooms for so long, so they want to do something intimate so they can be close to their fans. It's usually a warm-up date before the album drops to promote the album's coming, and we book these shows in these very intimate 500-seat rock clubs. And then the show sells out instantaneously, and the band decides they need to bring a much bigger show that just won't fit. The power supply isn't there, the clearance of the room isn't there, the stage size just isn't there. So they show up with this show, and when they try to unload the semi, most of it is still left in the parking lot because it just isn't physically possible. But it's just the guys trying to bring the biggest possible show to their fans. You can't fault them for that, Luke.
I don't know. Love this one. When a manager goes rogue and calls the venue direct to apply pressure. Hashtag Promoter 101.
Well, this one is probably better for you to explain, Luke, is you were actually the manager that incited this Promoter 101. So what was going on in your mind? By the way, Home Free guys, shout out to you. You'll respect that I actually called your manager out on one for once.
Well, I'm sure that's probably not the first one, but this tweet was about something that happened this week. Dan and his partner Jason were at Billboard this week, and when your promoter's at a conference, and it's been 3 days and I haven't heard something from somebody, sometimes you just have to go to the venue direct to get it done. My job is to do the best thing for my band, and I needed an answer. So sometimes you just have to get shit done and go direct.
Venues Manager Corner. This week we talked to a handful of venue managers and bookers to find out what's coming up and what's selling.
We spoke from venues all the way down from 200 capacity rooms all the way up to the biggest arenas in the world.
Promoter 101, honored to have Lee Zeidman here from Staple Center and LA Live in Los Angeles, California. Thanks for being here, Lee.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
So this fall, there's just a crazy amount of traffic going through the winter and spring. Have you ever seen anything like it?
It's been years since we've had this kind of traffic, but the one thing that's very interesting is I'm in a market where there's just a huge amount of venues to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything works out, how it works out with the traffic coming through the market, and how it works out with our schedule. Because as you know, we have 4 professional teams that play in our building.
You're talking about the professional sports teams. So the concerts are actually secondary to you.
Well, not secondary. They're a balance. I mean, what we try to do at Staples Center is we try to have a balance of obviously the sporting events, the concerts, and our family shows, sprinkled in with special events such as the Grammys and the All-Star games that we do there. But I wouldn't say they're secondary. I think they complement everything else that we do in our venue because it is a true multi-purpose venue.
Seemed like you guys were the home to Adele recently for, God, it seemed like a month.
We had a great summer. We had 8 sold-out shows by Adele. Followed that up with 3 great sold-out shows by Drake, and then we also added Carrie Underwood and Keith Urban to 2 additional sellouts. So it was a very, very good summer program for us, and now we're getting ready to obviously ramp up for our sports teams.
What are you excited about that's heading your way?
I think I'm more excited about the Chili Peppers. The return of the Chili Peppers, their 3 nights sold out, followed by we got country coming back with Eric Church, and then the return of Roger Waters.
It's nice to see that you guys are hosting a lot of the smaller club bands these days. Good for you.
Well, we have a cut down to a couple hundred people in that building. You know that.
Yeah, it's a nice intimate club setting of 22,000 or something. It's amazing.
22,000 of your closest friends.
You guys do an amazing job of competing, especially everyone said when the Forum opened up that you guys were going to have a serious battle on your hands, but it seems like both venues, because of the 2 different sizes between them, have really been able to coexist together.
We've coexisted, but let me tell you, it is a serious battle. Obviously, they do things very well over there, but we feel that that an artist can obviously walk out with more money in our building based on our larger lower bowl, and we have LA Live. I mean, you can make a weekend of it, you can make a night of it, you can come early, you can come stay late, you can drop off your kids for a pop show and have dinner at one of our 19 restaurants. So there's just a plethora of things to do at LA Live that we believe make the concert experience a complete experience for the fans coming downtown.
Lee, I'm not sure if you're a concierge or if you're the world's best venue GM, but I feel like I just checked into the best venue setup in the world.
Listen, we built Staples Center with the thought that we were going to also add LA Live, with the 2 hotels, with the Ritz and the JW Marriott, with the restaurants, with the Novo, which is a 2,300 seat theater, with the Microsoft Theater, which is a 7,100 seat theater, with a Lucky Strike bowling alley, and the Regal Cinemas. We wanted to make sure that if you come to downtown Los Angeles for a concert, that there is something for you to do there, so you're just not driving in and driving out. You can make, like I said, a weekend of it by staying at the hotels or make a night of it. So I think we cater to pretty much everybody, including the artists, because if you're an artist and you're not traveling in a bus or you're tired of a bus, we make our hotels available to you when you have a multiple night stay at Staples Center.
Excited to stay at LA Live once again in a couple weeks because Polestar Live's coming back in February.
It's going to be a great time. We're very excited about the return of it coming in February. And this time around, there'll be something going on at Staple Center every night. So if you get a little bit tired of the networking or you want to bring some people over to network, we'll have something going on at Staple Center throughout the entire conference.
Glad I know the guy that runs the place. Excited for that. Thanks for taking time to talk to us, Lee.
Oh, you're welcome, Dan. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Excited to have Chris Goddard from the Paramount Theater in Denver, Colorado joining us.
Excited to be on here. Thanks for having me, Dan.
So, Chris, legendary venue. You guys must have some of the best traffic that's on the road coming through.
Well, we just had 2 sold-out nights of Sturgill Simpson, going into Anderson, Rabin, Wakeman. Got Tommy Emmanuel coming up. Jim James, sold out. Brian Setzer Orchestra.
A lot of the old standards and the hippest Sturgill Simpson tour on the road right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to get a date at Red Rocks next year, and nowhere but up for that guy. It's amazing.
So what's coming up in the spring then you're excited about? What's working?
Right now we got a lot of comedy coming up. That's really the bread and butter for the Paramount these days.
So who's working on the comedy fronts that's coming your way?
You know, Kathleen Madigan got Sebastian Maniscalco. That's going to sell out. Kathy Griffin's coming up right before that. Michael Carbonaro.
So now that you're in Colorado, legal weed state, famous for it, are you doing anything to incorporate the weed and concert vibe experience together? Has that come together yet for you?
Not at the Paramount. You know, we try and stay neutral.
Hey, Chris, we want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us on Promoter 101 today.
Thank you so much.
Got Nick Kranz on the phone, Promoter 101 from the First Avenue in Minneapolis, one of the hotter clubs in the country, known for the legendary Prince. What's going on, Nate?
Oh, just getting into my offers for next summer.
What's locked in already for next year that you're excited about?
We're opening a new venue in March called the Palace Theater, and we just confirmed and went on sale with Regina Spektor for the end of March.
Well, you guys certainly have one of the more epic, legendary clubs in the world, the First Avenue known the world round. Thanks for taking time and talking to us today.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Anytime.
So we're joined today with the Mesa Art Center's Randy Vogel. Great to have you with us today, Mr. Randall.
Glad to be here with you, Dan.
So what's exciting that's coming through right now? There's so much traffic.
Well, we were very fortunate to get John Cleese and Eric Idle, Ina Gardner, and then Postmodern Jukebox.
When you rebook an artist into the venue,
we did that with 2 cellos, where we would put them in the 500-seat theater. We then put them in the 1,500-seat theater, and then we moved them to the amphitheater. And it's great when you have that opportunity to grow with an artist.
When you book something, are you worried about what you're putting out there in the world?
That part depends upon what the nature of the show is. I care about the content, but the audience that buys tickets is aware of the content, so I'm not concerned about it.
If the fans want to see more of something, do they let you know? And is that how you know when to rebook?
And if they buy tickets, then we know we did the right thing.
Randall, when I look deep into your eyes, have a cocktail with you, and share a moment, I think to myself, this is the greatest Jew on the planet. How do you do it, Randy?
I don't know. It's just what I do.
There you have it. Hey, Randy Vogel, thanks for taking time and talking to us on Promoter 101. It's been great talking to you today.
Great talking to you, Dan.
We are joined today on Promoter 101 by Rick Hansen. How you doing, Rick?
Good. How about you?
We're faking it, but at a very high level, sir.
Beautiful, aren't we all?
What's the Trust got in store for us?
Coming up, I'm looking forward to Tedeschi Trucks and Band of Horses. We have a big kids show with Paw Patrol. Almost all 4 shows are sold out. It's just been kind of crazy here.
Coming into the fall, what's coming our way?
Traffic is still heavy through the month of November and December. Obviously, with December, we have all of the holiday bookings.
So you guys are in an interesting part of Minneapolis. It seems like a real vibrant musical scene down there.
It is. This theater district is awesome, and it gets super busy. I mean, there's been times where we've had shows at all 3 theaters, the Orpheum State and Pantages. Skyway's right across the street. There's been kids lining up out there, and then you walk down to First Ave for a show.
So it seems like the energy of the new Viking Stadium coming online is really set a tone.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen already, they had Luke Bryan and they had Metallica. And they've hosted a bunch of other events, like including Chelsea versus AC Milan was one of the first events. It's really cool. The stadium's amazing. I've been in there a couple of times, and it's gorgeous. It's huge.
Well, I'm excited to get back there as soon as possible to head over to 508 with you and get a Juicy Lucy.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks so much for taking time with us on Promoter 101. Joining us on Promoter 101 is the triple door in Seattle's talent buyer, Scott Giampino.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you about all the traffic coming up at the fall and into spring. What's the highlights hitting the triple door?
Branford Marsalis with Kurt Elling coming. So we have 4 nights with Los Lobos. Paris Combo coming. We have Herb Albert.
Scott, what's playing in the big room?
We have the Beatles' Rain coming to the Taper Auditorium.
The fall's been busy. Do you see the volume being crazier than it's ever been before?
I certainly do see the volume increased dramatically. As soon as summer was over, it just blasted off.
So in October and November, were you seeing 25 plus shows a month?
Yes, absolutely. We do a lot of double shows too, so that drives the show number up. I mean, we'll see 30, 35 shows a month.
As the fall, is the spring looking the same way?
Yeah, spring's looking extraordinarily packed.
Scott, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us on Promoter 101.
You're welcome.
Now let's jump into our interview with agent, manager, promoter, producer, and at the beginning of his career, even an usher, the legendary Mr. Dave Hart.
Hey, Promoter 101, live. We've got a special guest in the office today. Legendary manager, promoter, producer, all around good mensch. Dave Hart's joining us today. Dave, thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Danny.
An icon. It's great to have you here.
You didn't include agent in that list of things.
Well, I didn't include usher either, but you've done it all. You've done it all. I mean, if there's some way that you could have made money in the music industry, you found a way to do it. Legal or not, there was a day for you, and you've made them all.
That's
From the
true,
top of Universal MCA to your own shop and back and forth again.
Yeah, just keeping busy.
It's great to have you here. I appreciate you taking the time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And as far as that's concerned, making money, I would have done all this for free. It's just an amazing, lucky thing to be in this business.
But it worked out that you got a dime or two while you were doing it.
That's true. That's true. And the wife's happy, so that's good.
So I'm not going to lie to anybody out there. We're both enjoying a cocktail while we talk about this, and I won't pretend that yours has alcohol in it, but mine might.
Okay.
So, but we just started, so not too tipped. Luke is in the middle of the beginning of the Straight No Chaser first night in Reno, so he's not able to join us right now, but he sends you his love and wishes he could be here. I know you work with the guys at Works. One of your clients works with them, correct?
Yeah, Tom Wopat.
It's a branding deal?
I don't know. It's some kind of deal.
That's a great manager who has no clue what the relationship is there. So Cindy, yeah, she's great. She just had a child?
Yeah, and she really helps with Tom. She really helps direct Tom Wopat's recording and what music to do and how to keep him vibrant. She's great. I love her. I really do.
She's super personal. She knows the record industry inside and out. It's impressive to watch her at South by Southwest. She knows all the players.
Have you interviewed her?
We haven't, but
Okay.
I imagine one of these days Luke can twist her arm. We're hoping to get David Britz on here too. All the Works cats. We love those guys.
Yeah, good guys.
It's like as I'm staring at a Straight No Chaser gold record over Evan's head right now. It's like we really love those guys. Let's talk about you though. Let's focus on the history. I mean, you go back to the Bill Graham days. You knew Graham.
Yeah, I knew Bill. He was my father in the business. I mean, that's the name that I gave him, is my father, and that's something. He was a wonderful character, a little bit dangerous at times, but a wonderful character and forceful and fun. And he knew the music and he loved the music, which was really cool. It was really cool. I told you I was an NYU student and was at film school at NYU. My teacher was a guy named Marty Scorsese. And I hated it. I loved rock and roll.
Let's go back. Your teacher was Martin Scorsese?
Martin Scorsese was my both production and film history teacher for 2 years. And I didn't especially like him, to be honest with you. He was a great film history teacher.
You might say he was a good fella.
Yeah, he was. He was making that at the time. He was quite a character, and I really enjoyed not doing his courses and going around the corner to the Fillmore East, which was a rock and roll heaven.
Which is where you cut your teeth in the industry.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got a job as an usher there, so while I was going to school, I would usher all these shows, and then we had an argument with Bill about pay, and I became the spokesman for the ushers and won the argument.
You won an argument with Bill Graham about money?
Correct.
Yeah,
I got $1.50
you didn't need to be in
more.
school. You were done.
And then he hired me the next day. I became an agent representing Santana, It's a Beautiful Day, Cold Blood, C Train, Paul Butterfield Blues Band. It was a spectacular thing. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I just quit college, 15 credits from graduating. He said, what? I said, yeah, I got this job. He said, how much you making? I said, $135. He said, congratulations, you can always go back.
$130,
which was a lot of money.
What, 1969, right?
1969, that was a lot of money.
A concert ticket cost what at the Fillmore at that
$3,
point?
$4, $5. So I could go to a lot of shows.
$3 to get into a show.
Correct.
If you can find a service fee lower than $3 now, it's a pretty shitty band, I guess.
There were no service fees then, too, I don't believe.
Well, you just bought your ticket at the door off the roll, right?
Right, and what a place to work. The Fillmore East was, I'm sure you know, it was famous. Everybody played there. The crew was, Halloween, the girls in the box office took off their shirts and everybody went nuts. Paul Singer and I, who ran the front door, dressed up as women. Things like that happened all the time. It was just the greatest. Is there a language difficulty on this podcast?
You can say whatever you want. I believe we're pretty explicit when we come down to it. I'm just kind of hoping you're going to keep your shirt on and not dress like a woman tonight. But that's just me. Let's talk. You knew everybody. You knew John Shear.
Yeah, John.
Eddie Mycone. Fast Eddie.
Yeah. These are my guys.
So you worked with all these guys, and you wound up at Niederlander in the New York office.
Yeah, I was lucky. I worked for John for 7.5 years, running the Capitol Theater.
John Shear.
Yeah, in Passaic, and New Jersey.
That was Metropolitan at the time?
It was called Monarch Entertainment.
Oh, this is pre-Metropolitan.
Yeah, Metropolitan. It became that in, I think, 83. It was Monarch Entertainment. And the Passaic venue was a great rock and roll theater. And, the Fillmore had closed. There weren't a lot of places that had the vibe like Bill Graham, and this place did. And we did everybody in there. We did The Who, we did Springsteen, we did the Rolling Stones, all in this 3,000-seat venue. And it was just a great place to work.
And that was when you were allowed to look the act in the eyes, right? I mean, it wasn't the separation of church and state where you couldn't hang out with them.
Once in a while, we would have a problem with the act. There was Linda Stein, who was the manager of the Ramones.
Jewish lady?
Oh, yes. Came in, and the Ramones were playing there. And she came in, and she bitched and moaned about the tea. They had been served tea backstage before the show, and the tea was cold. So she yelled at the food guy. His name was Cy Kosis. And he made her hot tea, and she gave it to Joey Ramone, who proceeded to then burn his throat, and we canceled the show. I love that story.
You canceled show over tea.
Over tea, right.
That's not very fucking punk rock. I mean, they're the goddamn Ramones.
Yep.
It's not the most punk rock thing I've ever heard that they canceled a show in the East Coast.
Passaic, New Jersey.
Over tea.
Over tea. Burnt his throat, had to cancel the show. Linda Stein went away. She was, her husband ran the label that first signed Madonna, Sire Records. And she was a hitter in her own right, but she just caused too much fuss. It was a funny story, and we only had sold 800 tickets, so we were sort of happy that it got canceled.
So, from Niederlander on to MCA.
Yeah, well, that was lucky. I went from the Capitol Theater to an outdoor venue called the Garden State Art Center. It was a spectacular venue. And then after running that for 2 years, the Niederlanders came and bought me away from that. So I ran their venues in Detroit, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., as well as helping with the Greek Pacific Amphitheater and the Concord Pavilion. And that was quite a job. That was in 83, and that put me in the big leagues. And then after that, did that till 90, and then started working for Mark Bensian at MCA Concerts, running the venues in Dallas, Atlanta, Cleveland. Myself and Jay Marciano helped build Toronto. Occasionally helped in Denver, not very much, and then at Universal Amphitheater, and then a little bit up at the Gorge with Jeff Trissler. It was another wonderful place to work.
So the shed business is on the map with a lot of your work.
Right. Oh, okay, that's nice to say. I mean, I didn't build any of them. It was certainly people who were a lot more thoughtful about the business than I was. But as far as booking them, that was my juice. I knew what I was doing.
Very few of those guys that built them are still in the business. I know Jay Marciano is still at AEG, so he is, but he doesn't have many of those. They're still at Live Nation, most of those sheds.
That's right. Jay, you got to hand it to Jay, though. He went up to Toronto and built that venue. He went to Atlanta and helped save that venue. He went to Denver, and I think he built that venue with his own hands. It might be you have to check his hands when you meet with him. Make sure.
Oh, and it makes sense. It's back in the AEG family now. Fiddler's Green is the one shed that AEG controls. Now it's Donnie, Chuck, and Brent handle that in Denver. Speaking of Jay, I'll go ahead and plug this. I'll be interviewing him at Aspen Live this year, and I'm really excited. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, and fascinating guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Been all around the world. It's like he's a super agent. You give him an assignment, and it's mission impossible. He's on a plane in 2 hours to a different part of the world. Toronto, London. Yeah. Doesn't matter. He's gone. Whether it was Madison Square Garden, whether it was L.A., whether it was Denver, Toronto, it just doesn't matter. That guy goes everywhere.
And he would also have the patience to sit with Howard Rose for hours.
That's a whole nother world. For those of you that don't know, we'll get into that one later. That's a whole separate podcast right there. We could do an hour on that guy. So let's talk about, I mean, you had management clients, some of the biggest. Louis Black, he was your guy.
Yeah, Linda Eder. In 79, 80, when I left John Shure, I realized that I had to have other things going on. And Louis had been a friend. I knew him from other friends from Yale. I didn't go to Yale, he did. And when he came to New York, he was a playwright, and I was interested in producing plays. So I got friendly with him. And his plays, unfortunately, were not an immediate success, and he saw some great comedians and decided to try stand-up. And he ran a great little theater in New York called the West Bank Downstairs One-Act Theater for many years, and also honed his stand-up career. But I managed him from 83 to 93, and I don't think he was very successful during that time. He was
only successful once he fired you.
Yeah, that's correct. No, actually, it took another 10 years. It wasn't until, I think, 2002 that he got the break on the Comedy Central show, Jon Stewart, and that was his big break. Before that,
he was a pundit for Stewart on The Daily Show.
Correct.
That was the big break that led to the HBO specials and the success.
Before that, he was just a middle. When these comedy tours would go out, there was somebody who would headline. He would be the middle, and there would be an opening act. Susie Essman was one of the headliners, and he would be a middle. He struggled. The thing about Lou was that he was so crazy that sometimes, and so angry that sometimes people really thought he was crazy and angry, and instead of getting the laughs that he should have, he didn't. So he learned how to smile once in a while, and it really broke the ice for him. And then when he had this TV exposure as this crazy man, because he's not a crazy man, he's a brilliant character, he broke wide open. And as you know, he does huge business now, and it's such a pleasure to see him.
Yeah, he's actually the one guy that can handle the industry awards better than anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Elaine Boozler's always done a good job with it, too. But Louis, amazing. The industry just shuts up for him. It's really impressive. So your history is amazing. There's no question. You've done it all. But now you're working with Ringo Starr, and he's a Beatle, for God's sakes. How cool is that?
Well, that was a lucky thing. I worked with this guy, David Fishoff, and he had produced a bunch of tours that I had bought for the Nederlanders.
Fantasy Rock Camp now, right?
Oh,
is his thing?
That's his thing now. But back then he had the Monkees. He put the Monkees back together, and we did huge business in Chicago and Detroit and Washington. And then he came with a thing called Dirty Dancing, and he produced a show, Dirty Dancing, that was just superb. It had one of the Righteous Brothers singing, and Eric Carmen, and dancers and everything. We did big business with it. So then he calls me up and he says, Dave, I just got Ringo Starr. What do I do? So I say, put together a band around him, right? And I'll book it into my 3 venues, and I'll give you the West Coast too. And we gave him the anchor dates, and he put it together. And the band had like 13 people on stage. Ringo at that point was just starting to really work by himself, so he wasn't confident. He had 2 drummers, he had 2 bass players, he had 3 guitar players, so on and so forth. And it was a great band, and we did great business. 6-7 years later, with myself with a guy named Bruce Kapp, I was working in a company called Magic. We bought the whole tour from David.
Legendary guy who just passed away in the last handful of years. But
Bruce was
legendary promoter.
Wonderful character. Just out of his mind, but a wonderful character. Anyway,
actually interviewed to be his assistant when I was like 18 years old.
Right. It's funny because we bought the tour, 25 cities, and after we bought the tour, Fishoff proceeded to tell us that there was a sponsorship. It was Glade. It was the tour that didn't stink. But he also told us that we had to play certain markets for the sponsor, and we couldn't do that because there were markets that were more successful than others, and we wanted to play the more successful markets, and that didn't fit in with. So we had a big fuss with that. As it turned out, we did fine with the tour, And I got to know the fellows from Ringo even better. I had met Ringo and the fellows around him in 1989, especially his lawyer, Bruce Graycal, and formed a relationship. Another management client of mine named Linda Eder married a writer, a guy named Frank Wildhorn, who Bruce Graycal represented. And he was the one who wrote a show, Jekyll and Hyde, that ran on Broadway for about 3 years.
Big hit.
Years, yeah. And Linda was the star of that, and Linda was a management client. So I had gotten to know that. And then in 2004, they wanted to change, so they came to me and said, we'd like you to do the situation that David Fishoff did. We'd like you to put the band together for Ringo, suggest band members, and book the tour.
So you're literally picking the band members, or at least suggesting them. So if anybody wants to get on that sheet to sit in on that session, it has to go through you first.
That was true, yeah. So it was a wonderful experience, something that I had many tools developed over many years to be able to do, and we did a great job, and the tours really developed, and Ringo's just been an absolute pleasure. I mean, he's a Beatle. Every time he calls me in my office, I get nervous because I'm talking to a Beatle. I'm talking to a Beatle. It's a wonderful experience, and
he really is a rock god.
Yeah, he's a rock god. So it's a wonderful experience, and the tours have been an absolute pleasure. We've gone around the world, and
how long has he been a client
now? Since 2004, the end of 2004.
So decade and a half.
The 12 years?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. And we're off to Japan. We're doing the Pacific Northwest. That's why I'm here with you. And then we head off to Japan on October 20th. And all of the Japanese dates are sold out. Then we play Korea and Hawaii. We come back here and finish in Southern California. And once again, just spectacular business with a band that is mind-boggling. It's Todd Rundgren is the rhythm guitar player and occasional lead guitar player, and Steve Lukather from Toto is the lead guitar player. Greg Raleigh from Santana and Journey is the keyboard player, and Richard Page is the bass player. Richard Page was the voice of Mr. Mister. What a band. And then we have a guy named Greg Bissonette playing drums, who's a first call in L.A. for a drummer, and a sax player and keyboard player named Warren Ham was also for one of these first calls.
So guys that all have mad chops.
Yeah, absolutely. And the band is it's so much fun to tour with these guys. And touring with Ringo, what do you tour? You fly on a private plane, stay in the best hotels. Life is tough. This is so tough.
So he's not traveling by Yellow Submarine?
No.
Okay. I assumed...
we can try that.
I assumed in the breakup that's what he got. Maybe Yoko got it, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. He was the first one to say, guys, let's take a break here. And interesting history with him and the rest of the Beatles. They were having tough times with each other, and he was the one who recognized it first. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
The movie's spectacular. It's great.
The new Ron Howard movie, obviously.
Yeah.
So let's talk. You've got an amazing history in the industry. You've seen it all. With the younger listeners, can you give them some true insight because you're a pretty mellow guy. You've been all around. You're very calm. You've got some history. What kind of advice would you give from where you're standing now?
Well, if you're a kid and you're coming out of college and you want to be in the business, the first thing you do is make sure you're on the college concert committee, because that's a good way to learn. But the other thing is be there. You got to be there. You got to be there all the time. You got to be at a show. You got to try to be backstage. You got to be interested in the music. You got to know who's on each stage. You got to be there. You can't just do it, and phone it in. I was lucky. Every time I was there, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and say, "Do this," and I did it and managed to get a step forward from that. But you got to be there. You got to be interested and excited, and you can't expect somebody to hand you anything, man. I never worked at it specifically to have a career in it. I was just there. I went to film school. I thought I hated film school too, but I hadn't varied from it. And being an usher at the Fillmore was just a sidelight. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and was completely knowledgeable, at least on English rock and roll, at the point in time when they came to me. If you're there and you have that knowledge, even if you're not focused on that direction, boom, it'll happen for you. I really believe that. I consider myself one of the luckiest human beings in the whole world, throwing myself in the river and let the river float me wherever it was, and it was good places. But I think that will happen for most people. I think there's just a good thing out there that if you really work at something and focus on it, it's good, but you can always go in another direction and be successful. I was thrilled to be in this business. I say this occasionally. I don't really mean it now, but I would do this for free.
That's awesome. Dave, I appreciate you taking the time. I love talking to you. It's always a treat to get to catch up with you, and something that we've been friends now for a long time. And every time I see you, we always have a great time.
Well, I gotta admire what you do, because and not to blow smoke, but the level at which you promote and the level at which you do shows, the great number of shows across the country, I think is really amazing and cool. And ever since I met you, I've admired that ability for you to just grow and grow and grow. And I'm sitting here in an office that has 12 screens in it, and Danny's in the midst of doing a settlement in Chicago, and one in Seattle, and one in Portland, and it's just amazing. And I'm glad that you're as successful as you are.
It's fun to hear how cool I am. I appreciate it coming from you. It's a real honor. Hey, if you want to find Dave Hart, it's dhart@powerlineent.com. dhart@powerlineent.com is his email address. He's a great guy to reach out to as a reference or just for advice. He'll get back to you. He's actually a good guy like that. Appreciate you taking the time. If you get a chance, check out the Ringo Starr All-Star Band Tour.
Yeah, that's right.
Mainly on the West Coast right now.
Yeah, but you never know. It could end up in your city.
Thanks so much for taking the time, Dave.
My pleasure, Danny.
Dave Hart is an incredible storyteller. I'm really glad we finally got to air his interview.
He sure is. Now let's turn our attention to a few of my own marketing team players that we caught up with in Nashville.
We had a chance to sit down with Aaron Reynolds and Jerrod Woods from Emporium Presents Nashville office during a recent sold-out show promoted by Emporium Presents at the Ryman.
Okay, so Promoter 101, this is going to be a little incestual because we've got some of my own staff joining us today. The Emporium Presents marketing team. We've got our good friends Jerrod and Aaron with us today. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you guys doing tonight? We're doing well. I appreciate the introduction, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we're hanging out backstage at the Ryman, sold out show for the Trailer Park Boys. What else can go wrong right now?
Let's talk a little bit about your roles and how you're supporting sold out shows like tonight. We work out of the Nashville office here, which is primarily marketing. Marketing is the gist of what we do.
Yeah, so like Aaron said, we work out of the Nashville office for Emporium.
We'll note that they're also sitting on a love seat couch together very closely here. This is... Well, we spend about every waking hour together in the office, so we've gotten a little comfortable, but...
We can feature their bromance a little bit, but I think people are tuning in to hear more about being the guys behind the guys, making the marketing happen. Me and Jason get a lot of the attention for Emporium, but in actuality, there's a lot of people that make the shows happen. It's not just us, which a lot of people seem to give us credit for. There are a ton of people, the assistants and the marketing crew and the production guys that come together and help make these things come true, not to mention the managers, the agents, the venue staff. But you guys have a lot of pressure on you to take the concept that the managers and agents give you and implement, and you have to do it on a budget. And maybe for an act you might not have ever heard of.
Oh, that happens quite often. Yeah. We, the acts we've never heard of definitely do happen. But to elaborate on what Dan was saying, I mean, the biggest thing for me is doing the research on the act, listening to them, checking out any assets they have, any content, but talking to management. And, we work with a variety of different acts that their management is very involved in. Having that is, I think, a key to a successful show.
Yeah, and working in markets all over the U.S., but also working in a lot of repeat markets, it's super beneficial to have those good relationships with radio, with all your reps, because you can go back to them time and time again, and you know that they're going to do an amazing job for you and do the marketing that you're exactly looking for. So.
I was talking about that the other day, that the first show in a market is the hard one. It's the expensive one to learn. It takes time setting anything up, but it's also like discovering the cure on a pill for something. The first one costs millions of dollars. The second one costs 5 cents.
Yeah.
So the second time you go back, it's great. So you work with a lot of different managers, some of them better than others. I mean,
they know the act the best. The thing that we can bring to the table is, we know these markets, we know our reps, we have those relationships, which are huge. And I think another thing, as Jerrod hit, is establishing those relationships with those reps is huge. Picking up the phone and giving them a call, I think, is one of the biggest things. And I think, not to
use the phone.
Yeah.
Shocking.
What's that?
Shocking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love just putting my headphones on and not talking to anybody all day and just writing out emails and taking care of business that way. But Jason Zink, who's not in here, but one of my bosses, is he instilled in me one day. He was like, your reps get a million emails every day. If you call them and just, figure out if they have kids, just talk to them and just kind of learn about them, it's going to go miles.
Dan has booked an act that no one in the fucking world has heard of. What is your first move to discover what this act is all about?
Internet is where all that information is held these days. And so for me, I mean, again, it's, well, do they have a Spotify? If not, what do they have on the internet? That's how I got to learn about them, right? I mean, there's not much, I can't go to the library and pull up a book anymore, so. Facebook as well, I think, is checking out their social media is huge. How they engage with their audience, if they are engaging whatsoever with their audience, what are they using more? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It kind of gives you an idea of where their audience is going to be, what they're doing,
who they are in general.
Yeah,
you're able to tell by who the people are, and that they're interacting with the artists, and then through that via their friends, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on. I mean, it's a black hole, the internet, and you can find so much information just by clicking through a few links.
How old are you guys?
I'm 25.
27.
Reason I asked that is you rattled off a lot of things like streaming, Instagram, Snapchat, all those things. You're looking at new media channels that are essential, I think, today to breaking some acts in new ways. So we weren't even thinking about those things 10 years ago. How helpful has it been to be young and current?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Coming from a generation who grew up with the internet, it comes a lot easier for us to go on Facebook, know what target market we're looking for, know exactly how to reach them, even in the language when you're creating Facebook ads. I mean, that's huge. That's absolutely huge when you're trying to reach a certain demographic. So growing up in it, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Growing up in it has been huge. I mean, just kind of get it. Obviously, it's there with us. I think also one of the things that presents a challenge is breaking through that noise then, too. Everybody's on it. Everybody has that ability to get to it. And the knowledge we have, it's, again, all out there. If you're a marketer, follow marketing blogs. Figure out how to fucking do it. You should be reading the proper things. And
you do a lot of things for our shows, and I think that you guys market in a much better, more progressive way than a lot of the industry does. And I think interacting with management and doing what they want brings you to a higher level to market a show correctly. And also repetitiveness. Knowing what does work and doesn't work for an artist is huge. I think because we did so many Paula Poundstone dates, we found that she sold with cable advertising and NPR, but nothing else really worked. We just needed to rock those two things.
Yeah.
But over time, you figured that out. And with other, Trailer Park Boys, you've got the formula.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you're kind of hinting at, sometimes it can be trial and error in some markets. And you said sometimes breaking a new market, you got to figure that out. But don't leave any rock unturned. You got to flip over everything to find what's going to work. You can't be like, I hit radio, I hit the newspapers, I did some Facebook. Everybody knows about it, it's not selling. There's so many options out there. And I think, we were sitting in a venue the other day and talking to some people, and they were trying to figure out how to sell tickets. And they were talking about a small act, and, you probably have $400. And the thing is did you go to the country bars and figure out, can you work with them? And did you do those little small things that are going to help spread word of mouth?
When you guys pay attention to that, you see counts multiple times a week.
All the time.
So with that manager like Luke, who you guys are super interactive with, what are the things that managers can do to make your life easier to build success for them? And what are the things that you don't see a lot that you wish you did?
Honestly, one of the great things that Works Entertainment does is they're awesome at sending us content constantly. And as much that can be as very stressful to get it all up all the time, I mean, it is awesome because we know it's something that we're always feeding these people. That we're always reminding them, hey, we have this show on this date. Check out this new music video they did. Check out this new cover they did. Check out this new song they produced. Whatever it is, having that content always available is amazing.
So when you find a working formula for a given act in one market, how much of that is, if you guys decide to book and take on other markets, how much of that is clip, copy, repeat?
Also, I think one of the things that we do is we look at our on-sale campaign. And so if we click copy, repeat, and that on-sale campaign didn't really do anything, all right, then scratch it. I'm not copying the rest of the campaign. I got to rework this and figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, you can do so much to copy and repeat, like you said, but at the end of the day, it's never going to be the same.
Having an effective marketing team that can take and model out a marketing campaign and be an effective marketing machine across multiple markets, how much leverage does that give you in conversations with agents and managers when you're looking to take on more markets?
Well, I think national buying power helps everyone. We have the ability to buy a full tour throughout all of America, throughout all of Canada. And if we were so inclined to take it on, we could do the world. It would kill my staff, and we probably aren't going to do that, so don't worry, guys. But no, it's a conversation that's great because there's something that John Stoll said at Polestar years ago, Polestar Live, that I thought was amazing. He said, I'll take a show that I know is going to lose $10,000 if it gets me 2 other shows that's going to make up $10,000 and then put $10,000 in my pocket when I might not have gotten any of them because I leave with a $10,000 net profit. And I focused on how does he know that this is going to lose 10, that's going to make 10, and that's going to be up. And I had dinner with him years later, and I talked to him. He's like, you're focusing on the wrong thing, moron. I will take a loser, get you through another market as long as you give me all the business because I know over the 3 I'm going to make money. And it took me years to ask him the question, and I felt like a dumbass because I got it immediately. We'll go to the markets that no one else wants as long as we're going to get the other markets that everybody wants, and we put them all in the pot, and at the end of the day, we're making money. So maybe I have to lose a little money and do Spokane, but I'm going to get Seattle and Portland too. Maybe I have to do Redding, California, but I'm going to get Sacramento and San Diego and San Francisco. It gets the band through the week, and at the same time, we're picking up more volume, and it's a numbers game for us because the more business we do, the more money we make. Our percentage of our batting average is very high. It's easy to say that we make this percentage or that percentage of profit, which isn't true. Nobody can tell you that in real time. I can tell you what we did last year, but I'm not going to. But we're making money, and the more volume we do, mathematically usually means the more money we're making overall. So, yeah, absolutely. We'll take on more, and I'll go to the markets in Texas that nobody wants to go to usually.
For being young guys in the business here and being successful, what you've done for the past couple of years working with Dan here, do you have any advice to people looking to break into this business?
It's hard to believe kind of where I started, where I am now. And through this process, I mean, having great coworkers such as Aaron, Rachel Adams, who's my marketing director, and then also Dan and Jason. It's very rare to have people who are so busy all the time be willing to take time to talk with you about one of your shows each and every week to discuss what other options do we have for marketing, say if it isn't hitting where we want it to hit.
I'll say I kind of lucked out to get where I am, but at the same time worked really hard to do it. I think taking this with a grain of salt, like don't say no to any task. I think when you're young and you're starting out in the industry, you got to work hard. You got to have a hard, strong work ethic. Know that there's going to be long hours you're going to have to put in. It's part of the deal, and if you want to get to where you want to be, you're going to have to go through it. And I think you should, especially when you're coming into something new, be the first one in the office and be the last one to leave. Make sure you know how every single thing within the company operates, and then how that goes into the whole picture. I really believe strongly in that. And as Jerrod said, yeah, go out, meet the right people, shake some hands. That goes a long way.
Thanks for joining us on Promoter 101. Join us next week when we have manager of Great Big Sea, Matt Anderson, and the Trailer Park Boys. From Sonic Entertainment, Louis Thomas, as well as United Talent Agency's Nick Minema.
You can follow Dan on Twitter at The Jew and me at W. Luke Pierce. And make sure you follow at Promoters 101 as well. Make sure you subscribe to Promoter 101 wherever you listen to podcasts.
And if you have any thoughts, comments, or just want to remind us on how much we suck at this, email us at steiny@promoter101.net. It's been real, Luke.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have an awesome week.